One of the important things about memes, one of the things to really remember is that sharing is an integral part of it, whether it's through Facebook or Twitter or even email or IM. And in fact, the way that these things frequently come into existence is through the anonymous boards where pretty much anything goes, the Wild West of the internet. These things, like just tons of garbage, get thrown against the wall, and some of them end up sticking. Some of them end up having some sort of either interesting quality in that they're either very compelling or they're very annoying, and they get transmitted further on beyond that. So I want to go into another example, perhaps in a little bit more depth. This is an example around the song Dragostan Dinte, which you may know by the name Numa Numa. Now, this is based off of a song by a band called Ozone, which is a boy band in Romania. So all of the sort of tropes of like the Backstreet Boys and New Kids on the Block are contained in this. And the music is interesting, but it like builds on these really very specific hooks, right? And when you're making music, you know that certain things are going to be popular, certain things appeal to the listener. So this isn't a fantastic song, and the video is pretty mediocre. And I mean, but this is a sort of a constructed organism. These people, this band was put together by the lead singer and set up to be popular.
Alo? Salut! Sunt eu, un haiduc, și te rog, iubirea mea, primește fericirea. Alo? Alo? Sunt eu, Picasso, ți-am dat bip.
Now this particular band, this particular song, didn't really take off until, I mean, it was originally published in 2004, 2005, and it actually made it into the charts in Italy, for example. It was in the top 10 or top 20. But because the internet was like sort of young at that point in time, there was a lot of like file trading going on and file sharing, and what happened was it made it all the way over to Japan, where it became part of another video and another culture of using video. So this is an animated music video that then takes the video or the song and uses it as the soundtrack underneath an animation that makes an attempt to do a certain amount of interpretation based on it.
Alo? Salut! Sunt eu, un haiduc, și te rog, iubirea mea, primește fericirea. Alo? Alo? Sunt eu, Picasso, ți-am dat bip. Și sunt voinic, dar să știi, nu-ți cer nimic.
And when you look at this, I mean, you see these familiar characters that are in a lot of this sort of video. The writing is in Japanese. I mean, it's for a very specific audience. But what happened with this then is that it made it back around the planet and into the hands of one Gary Brolsma. Now he he grew up and was living in New Jersey, and he was like in a really interesting sort of phase in his life, and he was like maybe a little bit down, and so he created this video where he lip syncs to the song. So you see him, he's looking into the camera. This is like a cheap webcam. He's got his cheap headphones on in his depressing little hovel in New Jersey, but he's dancing. He's dancing, he's flirting with the camera, he's going for it. He's really enjoying himself. And at the beginning when he says, you know, salute, and he's like doing all of these like sort of gestures, it's like he's totally justifying the use of the webcam. He's completely taking something that he's seen somewhere else and he's making it his. Now this is the second most watched video on the internet, coming in at about maybe 500 million views.
Alo? Salut! Sunt eu, un haiduc, și te rog, iubirea mea, primește fericirea.
Alo, alo, sunt eu, Picasso, ți-am dat beat și sunt voinic, dar să știi, nu-ți cer nimic. Vrei să pleci, dar numai ei, numai ei, numai ei, chipul tău și dragostea din tei, mi-amintesc de ochii tăi, ei. Vrei să pleci, dar numai ei, numai ei, numai ei, chipul tău și dragostea din tei, mi-amintesc de ochii tăi, ei.
So there's a quote from Douglas Wolk who talks about this. He says that Brolsma's video single-handedly justifies the existence of webcams. His squarish head and shoulders are in the center of the shot. He's got a short haircut. His glasses are slightly too small for him and reflect his computer's monitor. The cheap headphones, I mean, he's got these cheap headphones on, he's sitting in a dismal-looking suburban room, and he's going for it. He's rolling his eyes back in his head, he's shaking his face, he's shooting his hands into the air to the beat, and saluting with the word salute. Gesturing like grandly, lip-syncing, and the whole time, this is like some sort of opera. It's like he's flirting with the camera and given over utterly to the music. It's the movie of somebody who's having the time of his life, who's really enjoying himself, and he wants to share it with everyone. And he does not care what other people think. So he made this video and posted it for a small group of friends, but it took off. Other people started recreating it, doing the little dance, sitting in the chair. It went so far that it became part of contemporary culture, and you even see it as part of South Park. And SpongeBob even gets in on the action. So at some point in time, a soldier, a seaman, gets a hold of this and decides to do an homage video and turns out an 8 seconds worth of video that turns then into this whole amazing reference, though, back to his work.
Alo, alo, sunt iarăși eu, Picasso, ți-am dat bip și sunt voinic, dar să știi, nu-ți cer nimic. Vrei să pleci, dar numai ei, numai ei, numai ei, chipul tău și dragostea din tei, mi-amintesc de ochii tăi.
So what you see and hear is something that's even more interesting, right? This is this group of soldiers serving the country. They're taking and they're participating in contemporary culture. They're listening to the words, they're reacting to it, and they're reenacting it. What's interesting about a video like this is something that I think of as like kind of an over-the-shoulder kind of anthropology, where we're seeing into their workplaces, right? So this is as much about the song, this is as much about the gestures that Gary Brolsma makes, and you can see them in this video. Now, are these people making fun of him? No, they're dancing along with him. They're participating, right? So if Gary Brolsma is the first person on the dance floor, you have to look at the number of people who sort of followed him onto it. And that is what memetics and the study of memes is really about. So, like I said, it's not about making fun. It's about putting yourself into the mix. It's about bringing the things in that you love. It's about bringing the pieces into it that have to do with your life and that then come back and reference you. So all of these videos, and of the 600 million views of the original, there are also 258,000 videos on YouTube that reference the Numa Numa phenomenon. Now, some of them are, of course, spam, but there's like a huge number of people who have responded to this as well. So, so it is that definitely that mating then of the artist or the editor and the cultural piece, the little quantum of culture, the meme, if you will.